Hey everybody, Chuck here again. Here we are going to look at our second video in the exam preparation area. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the online content and kind of wander around and show you around. So let me share the screen here and we'll get a chance to show you the resources that are available to you in the learning system that you've purchased here. So I'm using CSCP, but the layout's basically the same, whether it's CPIM, CSCP, CLTD, or even the new CTSC. Basically, we've got three areas on top here, 1, 2, and 3, and then we've got a resource section up in the upper right corner that we're going to wander through. So in this first session, just to comment on all these things here, there's a couple big ones for me. Is one is you should look as much as you can at everything that's in here to know what makes sense for you. For myself, I often encourage people to take the pre-test. Now, my comment about the pre-test is it does a couple things. It helps you understand what you know and don't know, which, if you think about it, means if it's our first time in, we may not know as much as we thought. Okay. The second part that the pre-test helps you, if you go back for a sec, when we get into the second section, the studies section, you see up on top here, content order or recommended order. If you click recommended order, it'll go back to your pre-test and it'll see where areas you struggled with the most, and it'll sequence from the ones you struggled the most to the ones you did the best. So either way can work, content order, recommended order, but that's where the pre-test can help you and come in. Now, my comment also on the pretest, a lot of people do this where it's the end of work or they're making dinner or they got the TV going on in the background. That also will hinder your ability to do better on the pretest. But my big comment would be we're looking at this pretest. Let me click begin to really start getting our arms around what we think we know and don't know. So don't stress if you don't do well. So you'll get the question, you'll select the answer, you'll submit it, you'll move on to the next question, and you'll see in the upper right corner, there's 150 questions. So you could easily spend 2 to 3 hours going through this section, but it's a good thing to do because when you get done and you go back and look at the answers, you can start grouping the areas that you struggled with so that later on you know where you've got to put some additional focus in. So we've got the pre-test there. You can also, do it part way and continue on later on. You can also start over if you want to do that as well. Let me go back one more. Another one for me is the exam content manual. And when you click on this one, this is a PDF download of all the areas that could be covered on the test. And so let me jump ahead a bunch of pages here. You've got the references here. These are the main text behind it. And if you do need a little help looking up some of these, don't hesitate to reach out. I tend to maintain the textbooks myself. But as you get a little further down, here's the elements and the percentage of the exam. So like part 1, 150 questions, 10% of them, or 15 questions roughly will be from that section. But then after that, it gets into in an outline form all the things, things that could be on the test. So I'm a big fan of, for each of these elements, you should be able to explain, and if you look at number 1 where my cursor is, perform historical analysis, you should be able to explain what historical analysis is, why is it important to supply chain, as well as, what impact does it have positively on a supply chain if you do this, what's the negative impact if you don't do it. So what, why, and impact, I think, is important there. Okay, so those are a couple of biggies for me. Going up to section 2. Now, again, you can go in content order, which follows the participant guide material, or recommended order based on what you did in the pretest. Now, each of these tabs down here that are highlighted, these are modules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on as you go through it. And then within each of the modules here, you see these are the sections within the module. So you can open it up and you've got additional supplemental reading and reinforcement if you want to do it. You've got quizzes here that you can do also. These quizzes are really focused in on, did you read the material? And so you will find yourself challenged, agreeing and disagreeing with some of these things. So you read the question, you discuss it with your colleagues, click an answer, hit submit, and then if you get it right, it will tell you correct, and then it'll give you a rationale here. Go on to the next question. I'm just going to pick one here. If you get it wrong, again, you got rationale open for discussion. I like these quizzes. I mean, they're not as well vetted out as what we see in the exams, but still, these make for great discussions and a chance to be able to, really have good discussions and make sure you understand what you're reading, and you and your colleagues. Okay. And again, you can start over or continue, so you don't have to do them all at one time. So I'm a big fan of doing quizzes. There's flashcards also. I really struggle with flashcards myself. I look at the answer to the flashcard, and for myself, it seems like I can never figure out the word, but the minute I turn it over and look at the word, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I could identify that in the test. So for myself, I'm not good at flashcards, but you do have additional reading that goes on here. So each section has got the quiz, flashcards, and even some discussion questions. May not get to all these in class, but I still am a big fan of encouraging you to take some time when you get a chance to poke through some of these things. Okay, so you've got that for each module. Then we go up to section 3. They usually have some practice exams. These give you a much better sense of what the test questions will look like. So that's worth going through. And again, practice exam, 150 questions. Like the pre-test, you'll go through the questions as soon as my screen comes up here, of course. You see a clock in the bottom right corner here, so you can kind of manage your time. You can flag a question and come back, but you would answer it and then go on to the next question and work your way through the question. So this gives you a chance to, again, prepare for the test and use these, like the quizzes, like the pre-test, to identify areas you need to go back and study for. Okay, so let me go back here. Definitely review the exam handbook and scheduling exams so you know that process. Really is helpful to go through some of these final prep videos. I really enjoy those, and I think they're wonderfully done. So going up on top here now into the resource area, section 2 here, glossary. You can go in and do a keyword search. So if I type in supply chain, everywhere supply chain shows up. I can click on a letter and look at all the L's. The dictionary, the glossary, is also available as a downloadable app through your cell phone, which is wonderful to have as part of your discussions in your group as well. Third button, my progress. As you go through all these sections, you can take the quizzes and see how you're doing. These red lines are 80% correct. That's what you're aiming for to get ready for your exam. And again, you can take these quizzes over and over and over again. But again, identify the questions you got wrong, group them like in an affinity diagram into areas where you're struggling, go back and review those things. Okay, fourth one, Resource Center. If there's any updates to content, you'll see it up here. You got some more instructional videos, which again, worth looking at to supplement your learning. Going back up there, additional resources and emerging topics. Great to connect it back to your profession. EPUB download, if you click on that, you can download through Google Play and Google Books or your Apple or any EPUB reader digitally, so you can read on the go if you need to. Course slides, if you need to look at the slides. They're available here. Printable flashcards are available as well. So Resource Center's got lots of good stuff in there. Okay, so this is kind of the nickel tour, I guess you'd call it, as you go through the learning system, and well worth taking the time to get into and start utilizing the resources here. Again, the idea is to prepare yourself for the exam, as well as identify areas you're struggling with and turn around and group those and come back and review those sections that you're struggling with.